Hello, and welcome to Let My People Eat, a podcast that provides satisfying talk about kosher nutrition. Here we clear through the clutter of nutrition speak, arm you with the clarity and confidence to eat, feel, and be your healthiest every day. I am Jill Scharfman, a board-certified holistic nutritionist living in Los Angeles.
And I'm Dr. Andrea Moskowitz, a neuroscientist and psychiatrist in Los Angeles. I use my training and experience to integrate positive lifestyle changes into my patients' lives.
Hey, Andrea.
Hey, Jill. How's it going?
It's going well. It's summertime.
Yes, it has just started.
Yeah, even though the weather is not really accommodating here in LA. It rained again this morning, which was shocking.
Right.
But, you know, with summer, it's so interesting. There's something called the summer phenomenon, which indicates that people find summertime to be even more stressful than other times of the year.
I've been reading about that also.
Yeah, which really makes no sense. Just that, you know, we usually think of it as very carefree and relaxing, but people get stressed, especially kids, anxious kids.
Yeah.
You know, they like structure, they don't want their routine shifting, and all of that can be very scary. But what we have to kind of realize is that we decide how we handle stress.
Right.
And we can change the way we handle stress.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we'll talk about stress. Let's
Yes.
talk about what stress is. And then how do we adapt through whole foods, nutrition, herbs, supplements, and lifestyle adjustments.
Right.
So I'm going to play a voicemail that we received from Sarah that got me thinking about all of this.
Okay.
Hi, Jill and Andrea. I love listening to your podcast. I have learned so much. Here's my question for you. I have a love-hate relationship with summer. On one hand, there is no mad rush in the morning to get to school and no homework to worry about at night. We also get to spend more time outdoors with family and friends. On the other hand, since there is no schedule, I have to figure out how to entertain the kids, shop and pack my oldest for sleepaway camp, and plan any trips we are taking. All of this is so stressful, both from a money standpoint, emotionally, and physically. How can I put the fun back in summer and not dread it? Thanks, Sarah.
So this is common. And
It's very common.
And the sleepaway camp thing is also, I was in New York recently and somebody was telling me that the amount of things they have to buy for sleepaway camp now,
Right.
Decor for the kids' beds, pillows, throws, fairy lights, just thousands of dollars of things.
And I think we need to talk about some of this. Because I think, and I think it's not just the summer camp preparations. I think things in general for the summer. Sometimes we tend to go overboard. We so want everything to be perfect that we end up just stressing out so much about it.
Right.
And, you know, I think one of the things, I'm just going to jump in, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, but is that you don't have to have perfection to have fun.
Right.
And you don't have to bring every last thing on the packing list. And you don't have to bring every last thing from home. You know, I mean, part of the fun of going away to camp, maybe I'm wrong, should be it's a change. It's something different.
Right.
Not to try to recreate your whole home.
Right. But
in your bunk.
It's hard to say no to your child, your daughter, when everybody else, or son, but probably mostly girls for the things that I'm thinking about, when everybody has the shower caddy, everybody has the, lots of different clothes. So that's probably a whole other topic.
Or you think that, because I work with kids all the time, as we know, and a lot of times kids will come home and say, everybody else has it.
Right.
If they say everybody else has it, it means a couple of people have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's generally speaking, everybody doesn't have everything.
Right. So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a step back and talk about stress and what it is. And we develop stress to survive.
Right.
Right. It used to be.
Or actually anxiety.
And we developed.
Anxiety to survive.
Anxiety.
Right.
Right. Which then is the reaction.
Sometimes to stress. Yeah.
Right. So it used to be years and years and years ago, there weren't as many stresses. It was not for a long time. You'd see the saber-toothed tiger, you'd run for cover, and then that stress would go ahead and pass. But The problem is in modern day, our bodies react to the stress the same amount as if when we're waiting in a long line at Starbucks.
As if it's a life and death situation.
Right.
You know, I would kind of back up. It's not that we had less stressors back then, but we had the more basic stressors, you know, as you say, kill or be killed by some predator, starve or have enough to eat, you know, so there were those kinds of stressors,
right?
You know, survive or die in childbirth, but so there were those stressors. So you're right. I mean, now we don't have a lot of those life or death things anymore, but our bodies are still programmed to react to stress as if it is life and death.
Right.
And as you say, so then if you have to wait overly long for something or the traffic's really bad or something like that, it's your body is going to have the same reaction as if the saber-toothed tiger is coming at you.
Right.
And the problem is because your body is having that reaction, your brain is saying, oh my gosh, it's a life and death situation. Time to panic, time to get. And the thing is, it's not.
It's not. Or it's just we have constant little stresses. So the word stress, the way it's used today, was actually created in 1936 by a medical researcher named Hans Selye.
Hans Selye.
Selye. And, you know, he also wanted to teach us that stress can be positive or it can be negative. So we all know what negative stress is, but what's positive stress? So those are the ones that can make us productive, spurs to action. So let's say getting married or meeting a project deadline. Those are positive things in our life, but they could also be stressful.
Right. Or a little bit of anxiety, for example, a little bit of nervousness about giving a talk or taking a test. There are studies like that ups certain chemical levels of norepinephrine and dopamine in your brain, and that actually helps you to focus better and concentrate better.
Right.
The problem becomes if it gets too much, then your performance quickly deteriораtes.
Right. So this is called actually eustress.
Right. Exactly. U-shaped curve.
Yeah. So it's actually it's usually shorter duration and it's more positive. But like you said, it becomes a problem when it's chronic.
Right. If you think about the U, right, with the climbing up the performance, the vertical like performance and the horizontal the stress level. So you have a little bit of stress and you get to the peak of your performance, you get a little more stress and it starts coming down.
Right. And there's also the thought of the straw that breaks the camel's back. Sometimes you have so much stress that even maybe it's all good, it just is too much for your body to handle.
Right.
So this researcher, Hans Selye, came up with something called GAS, or the General Adaptation Syndrome, where there are three parts of the response. There's the alarm response, which is the immediate response, where your body gets ready for fight or flight. Then there's the resistance phase, where the immediate threat is not there anymore, but you're still in a state of hyperarousal. You're still very on guard. And then there's state of exhaustion, which is when it's ongoing and your body never gets to rest and recuperate. And that's when it becomes a problem because it's going to have long-term health consequences. So you started talking about the hormones and chemicals that are released during fight or flight. So epinephrine.
So there's epinephrine and norepinephrine and endorphins. And it's all there, you know, to help you either. I mean, the first option is flight, right? So again, it helps to think of the saber-toothed tiger analogy, really, or like being like trapped in a burning building or something like that. So the first thing is get out, get away, right? And then if you can't do that, fight. Or, you know, try to put the fire out. People can override this a little bit because, you know, like the natural thing would be to run away. However, if we're with someone who we love or even somebody we don't even know, but another human, people will override it and to save the other person or even sometimes to save their pets. Or, you know, they can override it. So they will go into instead of the flight mode, they'll go into the fight mode.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And humans can do that. And I think certain animals can do that too.
Probably.
I mean,
yeah.
Like dogs have done it and things like that. And then the last part of it, though, which I think people are familiar with, is the freeze part. So if you can't get away and you can't fight back, the third best thing is to sort of freeze. You know, the deer caught in the headlights, or there's an expression playing possum, which is because possums, I mean, they can fight back, but they're not great at it. So they just freeze, and sometimes predators will play with them or toy with them, but then this thing is like, it's not alive anymore. Maybe there's something wrong. They're not really thinking that, and they leave it alone. So that's what they tell sometimes people to do. Like if they're attacked by a bear, or what, drop to the ground.
Right.
Like
go in a ball.
Go in a ball, right? Put your hands over the back of your head and kind of pray for the best.
Right.
So,
yeah.
you know, and a lot of times the bear will hurt you, but you will not be dead at the end of it. So that's the freeze.
Right. I think
response.
That there's some people who are very good in emergencies.
Right.
And then there are people who aren't good in emergencies.
Because they go right into freeze.
Right. They go right into freeze.
Right.
So,
and sometimes people who have had a lot of trauma in their past, especially abuse trauma, and I'm not going to go into that. There's a whole separate set of things, will go into the freeze part relatively quickly.
Right.
Because their bodies have almost been conditioned to do that.
Because they had to build a wall or something.
Because they could never get away and they could never fight back. If it happened, especially when they were children.
Right.
Right. So that they do they don't think about it. This just happens.
Right.
They just freeze.
Okay.
Because that gets them through the situation.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So epinephrine, also known as adrenaline.
Right.
Right. So what happens to the body when it starts to release this? We have an increase in blood sugar. Right. So that we have a source of energy.
Right.
It increases our heart rate.
Right.
And blood pressure. So you have more, for the muscles can
blood
move
pumping.
more.
Right.
It enhances blood coagulation. So God forbid if there is some bleeding, it automatically
stops
is
faster.
ready for that. It diverts blood from the less crucial functions like digestion, fertility, brain, heart, and it gets the brain and heart ready for survival mode.
And the big muscles.
Right. It dilates the pupils for increased visual sensitivity.
Right.
And constricts the blood vessels.
Right.
So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on when we're in that mode. I don't think we realize, everything's talking to each other and getting us ready. And the brain also releases endorphins, which are the body's natural painkillers, to minimize the sensation of any pain if there is injury.
Yeah, and those are also actually released also more peripherally by the adrenal glands. The same ones that are releasing the epinephrine, and norepinephrine and dopamine are also releasing the endorphins.
Right.
Which, it helps decrease pain. And it also does something extremely interesting, which if you've ever been in an emergency situation, or we'll get to this in a second, had a panic attack, which is what happens if this whole system goes off and there is no emergency going on. It slows time down. Also, the fact that your pupils are dilated because you're taking in more visual information.
Right.
So it makes you feel like things are going more slowly, which is actually a good thing because it kind of lets your brain make some decisions better. You don't feel you're in emergency mode, but you're not thinking in a panicked way.
Right.
Because things are slowing down.
Right. That's very cool.
If you're in the actual emergency.
Right. Once it's passed.
Not when you're having a panic attack. When you have a panic attack, it doesn't work that way.
Right. So I touched on before that the stress affects digestion too, because things are being diverted away from digesting. And so, it's obviously not good for your digestive system to be under constant stress.
Right. And the other thing that happens with stress is that your cortisol level goes up.
Right.
Which again helps mobilize the sugars, and it helps with decrease inflammation and things like that. But if that happens chronically, then you have a much more problematic situation.
Right, because you lose muscle mass. It's literally like the stress is eating you alive.
Right, your blood sugar your resting blood sugar goes up, which is no good, obviously.
Yeah.
And also you have more problems with inflammation because your body gets kind of adapted to the cortisol, and Right.
So high levels of cortisol circulating the body leads to impaired cognitive performance,
right,
depression,
right.
Your thyroid is effective, skin regeneration
right.
and healing, as you mentioned, blood sugar.
Right. And again, this is on a chronic level.
Right,
Not,
right.
If it happens every once in a while for an emergency situation, that's what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Right.
And, so blood pressure, immunity, everything. I don't think
Suffers.
we realize, like, when we are under this constant state of stress, how
right.
detrimental, and sleep disruption also,
right.
because, if you're not sleeping, that's just creates a cascade of making good food choices, making good health choices, making any choices
right.
that are in your best interest.
Right.
So, and then finally, there are other bigger diseases, heart disease,
right.
cancer, that are also affected by this body's response system.
Right. And let's, again, stress, chronic stress.
Chronic stress, right. So, right, we could take 30 seconds to 30 minutes of exposure to stress, but if it's 30 years, that's where the problem is. But, you and I probably both know there are people out there who are just constantly in this state of stress.
Right.
And they're exhausted.
Right.
Yes, because of that.
Right. So let's talk about what to do with it a little bit.
What do we do? Right.
Right.
So, okay. So, of course, I'm going to talk from a diet and lifestyle.
Sure.
And when we're in this state, we're using nutrients way faster than normal. So the most important thing is to consume high quality food to get the nutrients back.
Right.
Balance our blood sugar.
Right.
So that we're not on this constant roller coaster. So here, I'm going to just kind of review the Eating for Health guidelines, which we talked about in episode 3. You want to eat 3 meals and 2 snacks every day to keep your blood sugar even.
Right.
You want to eat, obviously, whole, unrefined, preferably organic foods. Make sure you're eating protein, because protein is the cornerstone upon which all these hormones that we were talking about and neurotransmitters, the adrenaline, everything, protein is what helps create that. So you want to make sure you're getting protein. Eat within the first hour of awakening and don't skip breakfast, even if you aren't hungry.
Right.
Make sure you get healthy fats. So olives, nuts, seeds, extra virgin olive oil. Make sure you're getting more vegetables. You also want to salt your food because your body is actually not retaining enough sodium when you're in this state. So unrefined sea salt, you can take a little bit with water in the morning. It can help you maintain your sodium levels. Decrease the use of substances that you crave, that you use to bolster your energy. So things like caffeine, breads, sugar, tobacco, try and decrease those, because that's usually where people turn. So that's a hard one. Right. And try and eat before you become hungry so that your blood sugar doesn't plummet. And don't eat too much, because that puts stress on your pancreas. Right. And we want to obviously avoid any more stress to the body than we have to.
And make sure you drink enough water.
Yes, that's a good one too.
Especially in the summer.
Yeah, that's right. That's that. Because heat,
all year round, but
the heat also has a big impact on people and their levels of anxiety.
Right.
Okay, so we talked about just the basic, but you want to make sure you're getting your B vitamins, your C vitamins, your potassium, magnesium, because they all help support the adrenal hormones, electrolytes. So things, good B5 vitamin sources are broccoli, egg yolks, beans, mushrooms. Vitamin C is bell peppers, cantaloupe, citrus. Potassium are asparagus and cabbage and carrot,
avocado, everything. Yeah.
Magnesium, so that's almonds and broccoli and flax seeds. Dark green vegetables in particular help calm down the body and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is where we want to stay.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah. And you want to eat your fruits, but try not to eat the very high sugar fruits all the time. Right. Take out any stimulating beverages, coffee, soda, black tea. You can also include things like flax seeds and sea vegetables and protein powders. All of these things are booster foods.
Right.
And help you heal. So what do we want to decrease? Refined carbohydrates. So any white flour, because they hit the bloodstream like a freight train. And also, if you know of any foods that you're reactive to,
right.
So that means allergies, so gluten, dairy, soy, corn, eggs, citrus. Again, we want to avoid stressing the body any bit more than we need to.
And I also want to put in a plug for the do's of things with active cultures to help keep your gut biome good, because that helps you absorb and make use of the other things that you're eating.
Right.
So yogurts with active cultures, kombucha, raw fermented sauerkraut, kimchi.
Yes.
Those kinds of foods. You don't have to have a ton of them. You know, like for yogurt, 3 tablespoons a day. Boom.
Right.
Plain yogurt, not with sugar and
not sweetened.
And fruit, not sweetened. But that is very, very, very helpful.
Right. That is. Okay. And then there are herbs. There are herbs that are very good for you. There are adaptogens and nervines. So it would be a good idea to see a nutrition consultant who can help the client see what buttons get pushed and how they're reacting, and maybe help them figure out some of these herb combinations that they can take, because usually there'll be a stress combination supplement that they can take. So that would be something to look into. And then, of course, lifestyle recommendations.
Right.
Exercise is great, but if exercise is stressing you out, you really need to back off.
Right.
Because sometimes your body can't handle it in the state that it's in, and it just will exhaust you anymore. Get to bed early, because cortisol tends to go up in the evening. So a lot of times people are very sleepy earlier in the evening, and then they push through, and all of a sudden they get the second wind, which is really not a good thing.
No.
So when you're feeling that tiredness in the early evening, you should really start to think about going to bed, and try and sleep. Spend time with your friends, pray, meditate, and try and take out any stressors that you obviously can. When in doubt, cut it out. It's not easy. We have here that, except that some days you're the pigeon and some days you're the statue. Nobody cares if you can't dance well, just get up and dance. Some mistakes are too much fun to only make once, and a truly happy person is one who can enjoy the scenery on the detour.
Yeah.
So before we finish up here, I just want to leave you a quote from Henry Kissinger, who said, "There cannot be a crisis next week. My schedule is already full." So Andrea is going to read a guided visualization that you can listen to. So just if you can sit quietly in a chair and listen, it's about 2 or 3 minutes, and just listen to this visualization. That might help lower your stress levels. So
hopefully. Okay. So let me start. This is a walk on the beach, appropriate for the summer. Okay. So first of all, this is a time just for you to relax. During this exercise, you're going to take an imaginary walk on your favorite beach. Start by making yourself comfortable. Either sit down or lie down if you can. Loosen any tight clothing, take off your shoes if you want, and adjust your position so that you can just relax. So I want you to first start by closing your eyes and begin to let go of tension and relax your body. Scan your whole body for any tense spot. Bring your attention to the tense area and allow the tension to gradually melt and disappear. Imagine it melting away with each breath in and out that you take. A sense of relaxation and warmth is spreading to your whole body. Take a few more deep breaths, slowly. With each breath, you breathe in relaxation, and breathe out your tension. Breathe in relaxation and breathe out your tension. Breathe in relaxation and breathe out your tension. And feel your body sinking more and more into deeper and deeper relaxation. Okay. On a warm and bright summer afternoon, you decide to take a walk on your favorite beach by yourself. The path leading to the ocean is surrounded by wild bushes. Everything along the path smells of sea and the sun, and maybe a little fruit smell too. Butterflies are flapping their wings above the bushes, and the flowers stirred by the butterflies are waving back and forth. A salty, warm, gentle ocean breeze is gently caressing your face. The afternoon sun is warming your skin. It's not too hot, it's just right. And it's gilding the whole area and making it look golden. The vast and endless blue sky is decorated with a few floating white clouds. You can hear the rustling of leaves in some tall trees not far from the shore, and in the distance you can hear birds, maybe seagulls, calling to each other over the blue ocean. Together with the waves from the ocean, it all forms a very tranquilizing, peaceful orchestra. Arriving at the beach, you're happy to see that the sand is pure and white and soft, warm but not too hot, and the beach goes both sides endlessly. A few beautiful shells, like gems, are sparkling in the sand in the sunshine. You decide to take off your shoes and walk barefoot. The grains of the warm sand massage your feet. The sound of the waves washing up against the shore is peaceful. You keep walking along the shore. Once in a while you bend down and pick up a seashell or two. Look at the different colors in the seashell, the pinks, the whites, the glistening texture. As you walk further along the shore, you decide to stop for a rest. You sit down on a mound of pure white sand and you gaze out at the sea, gazing peacefully at the rhythmic movement of the waves, in and out, in and out. And as you're watching, you're kind of breathing with the waves, in and out. The whole coast with its sand dunes, beaches, piles of seaweed, trees, birds belongs to you alone. You feel so peaceful, free. You're at one with everything around you, and time slows down. Your mind begins to drift. Again, look at the waves breaking along the coast, in and out. With each move of the waves in, you find yourself feeling more and more relaxed. And with each move out, you feel more and more at peace. You forget about time. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. You realize the sun is a little bit lower on the horizon, and the sky is turning brilliant colors, reds, oranges, yellows. You feel so relaxed. You continue to watch the sun slowly set, and you're breathing in and out with the waves. Notice how relaxed you feel right now. Remind yourself that you can create this feeling anytime that you need to. This is your private beach, and you can always come back to it, no matter what time of the day, no matter what season of the year. Periodically during the day, maybe scan yourself, see if you have some tension. Think about the warmth of the sand and the sun, and let the sand and the sun melt the tension. Okay, when you're ready to wake up, give yourself a few moments to do that. Gradually return your attention to your surroundings. Move your arms and legs a little bit. Wake up your muscles. Shrug your shoulders a little bit. Try and keep that feeling of peace and calm with you while you slowly open your eyes. Look around. Reacquaint yourself with your surroundings. Slowly sit up. Take a few breaths. If you're sitting, slowly stand up. And then rejoin your day.
And that is it for this episode of Let My People Eat. Please visit our website at letmypeopleeat.com and leave us a comment. Get in touch at our email at podcast@letmypeopleeat.com or call us at 317-659-0004. post on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook with the hashtag #LetMyPeopleEatPodcast. If you like this show, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Tell your friends and family, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts.
And please remember that although we are certified professionals, this is not a medical advice podcast. No content, posts, or comments should be interpreted as professional guidance. Always speak to your own health practitioner about making the right life changes for you.
Until next time, I am Jill Scharfman.
And I am Andrea Moskowitz.
Thanks for joining us.
And go in good health.